Hello, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to Harpin on Rugby, where, with the help of some fellow fans, I get the chance to harp on what's going on with Leinster, Ireland, and the wider rugby world. First up, joining me is someone earning cap number 56. A warm welcome back to Mr. Tom Coleman.
Cheers, Jeff. Cheers, Mark. Good to be back.
Good to see you. And their second guest is making his 53rd appearance. Hello to Mr. Mark Jackson.
Evening, Jeff. Evening, Tom. Pleasure as always.
Indeed, good to have you both. All of which brings us to our final thoughts on the match, starting with Tom.
Yeah, look, here we go again. Three years in a row, three semi-finals. Yeah, look, it is disappointing. It just seems since the end of the Six Nations, we've just not quite got our selection right, and not just quite. We haven't won away since the Zebra game. I know we've the South Africa tour in the middle of that, but we away to Ulster as well, and obviously inverted commas away to Toulouse. So we've come up short on the road, and we came up short on the road again in the Bulls, and it was it was other matches throughout the season that sort of ended us up in that situation, but that's where we were. But look, the Bulls is I've sort of spoken about probably our woes for much of the pod so far, so I think have to be magnanimous about the Bulls. I thought they had a good game plan. I thought they stuck to it well. They learned a lot from the games that they played against us this year. They also learned a lot from looking at games where we struggled. And I'm sure they looked at the Ulster game earlier on in the season where we really struggled out wide, because Billy Burns to Jacob Stockdale, it was Willie LaRue to Elric Lowe, or whoever else was out there, because it was the same set move that was there. So, that'll be frustrating from Leinster's point of view, that there was a weakness in our game shown throughout the season, and it seems we've done nothing to correct it, because we were a rabbit caught in the headlights again, especially in the first half. So, it comes down to coaches having to look at themselves again and see why we're not putting sort of stuff in place to try and correct obvious weaknesses that's there. But look, Bulls deserved win. I don't think anyone maybe would have picked the Bulls Glasgow final at the start of the season, but the two teams they were the two better teams on Saturday, and both deserved to win. And hopefully it's a full house down in Loftus, and that it's a good game as well. I look forward to it as a neutral. It would be nice to look at something from a neutral point of view for once. But yeah, plenty to do for us off field. I'm sure we can talk about that as well in a short while, but plenty for us to do off field. But definitely well done to the Bulls. They outsmarted us, outcoached us, and outfought us. And if you're losing those battles, you're going to lose the game.
Yep, absolutely. Mark?
Yeah, just reiterate what Tom said there. Better team won both semi-finals. And the problems I have are not that we make mistakes. Everybody's human. Everybody makes mistakes, but we're not fixing them. Whatever issues we've had have been repeated again and again and again, not just this season, but from last season too. And until they are fixed, we're going to continue on the same path. I don't want to give the definition of insanity, but Tom's already given it. But that's exactly what it is. We've always had games where we make mistakes, but these guys are professionals. They should be able to fix it on the fly, or at least look like they're fixing it on the fly, and not having to go through 80 minutes of repetitive problems. So it's disappointing. It's disappointing, probably more so than the last 2 years, because again, it's not as if these issues have not come up before, and I think a few changes need to take place.
Yep. And okay, well, listen. Right now, we're gonna just take a quick look, a step back, and look over the Leinster season as a whole. On the face of it, you could say it's a carbon copy of last season, lost in a Champions Cup final, out in a domestic semi-final. But of course, as ever, when you're doing pods week in, week out, the journey can always look a lot different. So starting with yourself, Mark, I mean, what do you actually make of our campaign overall, going back to the start of the season?
The record books will show, as you said, Jeff, exactly the same sort of ending before, but there's a few new players. There's certainly a new coach that's come in, and it would have taken us time to bed in. We didn't start brilliant, and we certainly didn't end brilliant. the bits. There were some bright moments inside. I thought the brightest moment for me this season has probably been the former Jamie Osborne. He has come along and really put his hand up. He's grown in stature every game he's played, um, and I think he's had a fantastic season. That's certainly been the highlight for me. We still have issues. We look a little bit more just disjointed in attack. I don't know if that's because more emphasis during the week and the reps that the guys get has been put on the new Neonaber defense. And, yeah, sometimes our defense has looked shaky, even though there's sometimes our defenses look absolutely impenetrable. But at the end of the day, we've won nothing. Sorry, we won the Irish Shield, and we
Yeah, we
almost
we
lost that.
we won nothing.
At the end of the day, we've won nothing again. And everybody's going on, obviously, with our millions and millions and millions that we've got in the bank and everything else. And you can't disagree with them at the moment. We have everything on paper that should produce silverware at the end of the year. And for the third season in a row, we haven't produced. That's the
Yeah.
brass tacks of it. So yeah, there's a couple of bright spots with some of the newer players coming in. I thought Cormac Foley showed enough as well to have a bright future. But we need to sort out our fly half situation. We need to sort out our leadership situation in terms of who's captain. This co-captain thing hasn't worked. And it just shows how reliant we were on Sexton for leadership and direction from the fly half position. Jamison Gibson Parks had a fantastic season. At times Doris has been a leader, and for me, he would be my nailed on captain for next season. But let's see what the next couple of months bring. I think it'll be busy enough in the offices at UCD over the next while.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because having gotten so far in both competitions um for two seasons in a row, basically we can do that again and get to those stages next season and nothing will be like there'll be no determination on how the season has gone. It still hasn't gone well. You have to get over those. You have to get over that final. We have to get at least
Yeah.
into the URC final. So that's right up until the end of next May. Nothing's going to be sort of fixed supposedly for Leinster. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I think just the numerous times I've been on the pod this year and analysing game, I think the one for myself anyway, when I look at the games, the one common thread all the way through is you're always looking to analyze the game and see where there's problems or see where there's improvements. And I think there's always been more questions than answers for me analysing Leinster games. There's always been a case of, yeah, lots of good performances, but always an underlying feeling of let's see how this particular plans out. Obviously for the first half of the season, we were trying to get to grips with the new defensive system, which was completely different from the previous regime. And that was fine. I had no issue with that, and Leinster did get to grips with it with a lot of it, but just it was always a continuous. Okay, we need to improve there. That's not quite working. It'd be interesting to see those sort of comments. I found myself saying a lot, regardless of how many games we won, lose, or draw. And I think ultimately that's the season, and that's why we ended up. We're in some ways we're ending up with in the same place as last year, but for wholly different reasons.
Mm.
Uh, has the previous season's issues gone away? That frailty of losing close matches. We don't know. It'd be unfair to put that stick on Neymar, for example, just because it's not replicated. But I just think tactically, and what way we're trying to play, we haven't just quite got our head around it in all facets of the game. And if you're trying to win a European Cup and try to at least skate your way towards the knockouts of a URC by trying to manage people in green minutes and European minutes. And that's not all quite right. You're going to fall short. And I think that's what happened. So yeah, I suppose it obviously didn't help Neymar. The season starts on the 1st of July. That's when pre-season starts. And so our attack coach and our main coach was missing for at least a third of the season. And that showed as well. I think a big pre-season will make a big difference to the squad next year. But it's like everything else. We lost. What are you going to do? We'll take the summer off. We'll pull our socks up, and we'll be back. Well, not the RDS. We'll be back in the Aviva in September, or the first game, the first away game. We're away against Edinburgh. I think we're home to the Dragons in the first game. We'll be there against the Dragons, and we'll go again. That's all you can do. Obviously, very disappointed for the players. But yeah, it's been a season of not quite convinced we're quite there yet for me. And that's me just thinking of my thought process from chatting to yourself for the whole season, Jeff. We're just not quite there, and I think that showed in the end, falling short again.
Yep, absolutely. Well, listen, we're going to leave it there, but just to let the pod listeners know that we've actually had a chat on a couple of extra topics, like both Leinster and Ireland's tendency to lose one-score matches in recent years, and also Leo Cullen's future. To catch those, you need to check out our YouTube channel during the week, and sure, while you're there, why not hit that old subscribe button as well. Well, that's brilliant, lads. Many thanks again to Tom and Mark for joining me, and I hope to have you back on again soon. Thanks, lads.
Cheers, Jeff. Cheers, Tom. Have a good evening.
Cheers, lads.